Sub-Saharan Africa's leading bourse, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, held its 56th annual general meeting to review its 2016 financial year performance with stakeholders and also take key decisions on its council. Coordinated by the President, Mr. Aigboje Ike Imokwede, the external editor's report from the representative of KPMG Nigeria showed the NSE kept proper books of accounts for its 2016 financial year.
To the members of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, report on the financial statements. The opinion. We have audited the consolidated and separate financial statements of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, thereafter called the Exchange, and its subsidiaries, together the group, which comprise the consolidated and separate statement of financial position as at the 31st of December 2016, and the consolidated and separate statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, consolidated and separate statement of changes in equity, and the consolidated and separate statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and a summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory information which are set out on pages 79 to 127. In our opinion, the accompanying consolidated and separate financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated and separate financial position of the exchange and its subsidiaries as at the 31st of December 2016, and of its consolidated and separate financial performance and its consolidated and separate cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, and in the manner required by the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act 2011.
The President then went on to announce the names of members of council, new members that will be serving, which got the approval of stakeholders.
The nominees are as follows. Chartwell Securities Limited, represented by Mr. Oluwole Adeosun. Remain standing, please. Equity Capital Solutions, represented by Mr. Kamaruddin Oladosu. Fortress Capital Limited, represented by Mr. Yomi Adeyemi. Pilot Securities Limited, represented by Mr. Sheyi Oshunke. Planet Capital Limited, represented by Mr. Chidi Agbapu. Woodland Capital Markets PLC, represented by Mr. Patrick Ajayi. Katsina State Investment and Property Company Development Limited, represented by Mrs. Fatima Binta Bello Ismail. Mrs. Catherine Nwakego Echiozo. And Irelu Angela Adebayo.
Mr. Aigboje Ike Imokwede, who was chairing the last AGM as president, thanked the members of the capital market ecosystem for the support he got in developing the exchange.
Let me state that having completed my tenure as president of the exchange, this is the last annual general meeting that I will be presiding over. I am extremely grateful to you for your support throughout my tenure, to you, the members. I want to, in particular, thank you for your support for the demutualization process. I would also like to thank my colleagues in council, those who are retiring and those who have just joined, for their service, commitment, and dedication. I would also like to acknowledge the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Oscar Onyema, and his fantastic team, management, and in fact the entire body of talent of this exchange for your wonderful work throughout my tenure. Most importantly, I want to thank God for everything.
Mr. Oscar Onyema, CEO of the exchange, speaks on the financials and what was achieved by the NSE in 2016.
As you know, the economic circumstances in the country for 2016 was a tough one for the entire country, and the Nigerian Stock Exchange was not an exception. We managed to carve out a 27 million naira profit for the group. And that was in an environment where we had significant reduction in revenues, about 32% reduction in revenues. We managed to hold our cost lines very tightly, and indeed reduced our cost by about 12%. So the financials, while not stellar, still leave us in a very solid financial position, given a strong balance sheet that is about 22 billion naira. We, in that environment, managed to execute on our strategies, taking a long-term view, and properly positioned to take advantage of the recovery that we're seeing in the economy now. We're working very hard with companies. As you know, the IPO decision at the end of the day is the company's decision. Ours is to make sure we have a very competitive platform for them to raise capital. And so we believe that we should be able to see one IPO before the end of the year. Having said that, there's a lot of activity in the primary market, rights issues, M&A activity, special placements, and things like that.
For outgoing President Mr. Aigboje Ike Imokwede, one of the strides of the Council under his watch was the significant progress in the demutualization process of the exchange.
You know, I don't really like to think of successes in the terms of the greatest. I mean, you know, we've been fortunate to record a number of successes over the past 3 years. Certainly, if I was to pick a few, demutualization and the progress that we have made on that very, very important front stands out, particularly given that, you know, the demutualization effort has been in or around the exchange for about 10 years, and we were not able to make as much progress as everybody would like. But over the past 2 years, certainly, you know, a lot of progress was recorded, and as the CEO mentioned, I think we're about 80% of the way there. You know, hopefully next year we should conclude that process. I would also think that fundamentally the whole notion of creating a capital market that can operate on par with some of the leading markets in the world, I'm talking here about the standards, the technology, the behavior of the market, signaling that, you know, the Nigerian capital markets and the Nigerian Stock Exchange as a flag bearer of those capital markets, you know, would function in the best manner possible, you know, is also another strong achievement. I like to speak to the diversity issue, that we have been able to now bring more women into council, 3 at the same time. I think we haven't had that many women in council at the same time before, and it signals that sustainability and diversity certainly are going to be hallmarks of the exchange and the larger capital markets. I also speak to the due diligence book, which I believe will be launched anytime now. This has been an almost 2-year effort. The whole idea is that we want to raise the quality of listings on a consistent basis to be on par with what you'd find in New York or London or Johannesburg for that matter. I think our capital market operators, lawyers, and issuing houses are of the same professional competence, but we need to set very high standards and benchmarks so that the quality of listings and the way listings come to the market, you know, would be of tremendous benefit to the investing public. Those are just some of the things that I can speak of immediately. There are several more.
With Mr. Aigboje Ike Imokwede stepping down as the president of the Council of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, expectations are high that the incoming president, Mr. Abimbola Ogunbanjo, will lead the completion of the demutualization process that will be a game changer for the capital market.